Snow fell in curtains across forward operating base Raven. Captain Nathan Cross surveyed the assembled Marines through breath mist. 18 souls. Standard winter rotation in hostile territory. Then, he noticed her. She stood at the formation's edge, separate but present. No rank insignia visible through the snow-dusted parka. Compact build. Rifle case slung across her back. Matte black and unmarked. Her eyes scanned the ridgeline beyond the wire with methodical precision, ignoring the briefing entirely. "Ma'am?" Cross called out. "You attached to this patrol?" She turned her head fractionally, nodded once. "Command didn't mention support personnel. What's your specialty?" "Observer," she said. First word, flat, gave nothing. Cross smiled despite himself. "Right. And what do we call you when things get interesting? You got a call sign?" The woman's gaze returned to the mountains. She adjusted her glove with deliberate care. Didn't answer. Staff Sergeant Ramirez coughed into his fist, covering what might have been a laugh. Cross caught it, filed it away. His Marines knew something he didn't. "All right, people," Cross continued, moving past the awkward silence. "Route stays the same. We're confirming the village abandonment, checking for enemy caches, and extracting before nightfall. Weather's degrading, so we move fast and tight." Questions. None came. The woman pulled a small notebook from her chest pocket, made a single notation with a pencil, then tucked it away. Cross noticed her hands, steady and economical in every motion. "Mount up in 10, he ordered. Marines dispersed to final equipment checks. The woman remained motionless, watching the valley beyond the wire. Snow accumulated on her shoulders. She didn't brush it off. Cross approached, curiosity overriding protocol. "Listen, I run a tight patrol. Need to know everyone's role. Command sends you, fine, but I need clarity on what you're doing out there." "Observing," she repeated. "Observing what?" "Exactly." "Wind, snow depth, approach vectors." She paused, finally looking directly at him. Her eyes were gray, Arctic gray, things people miss. Cross felt the temperature drop further. Something in her delivery, the absolute certainty, made his prepared response die in his throat. "You've done this before," he said instead. "In weather like this? Worse." A Marine called out equipment ready. The patrol began forming up at the gate. Cross hesitated, then extended his hand. "Nathan Cross. Good to have extra eyes." She looked at his hand for a moment, then shook it once. Her grip was measured. "You'll do fine, Captain," she said quietly, releasing his hand. "Just listen when it matters." Then she walked toward the formation, leaving Cross standing in the falling snow, wondering why that sounded less like encouragement and more like a warning. The patrol pushed into the valley like swimmers entering deep water. Snow swallowed sound, turning combat boots into muffled whispers against frozen ground. Cross led from the front third, maintaining visual contact with all 3 fire teams. Standard dispersion. Good sight lines. Except the woman. She moved in the formation but separate from it, choosing her own intervals. Not reckless, just independent. She'd pause when they paused, advance when they advanced, but always at her own rhythm. Cross noticed she never stopped watching the high ground. The valley narrowed. Rocky outcroppings rose on both flanks, white-capped and jagged. Perfect observation posts. Perfect kill zones. Cross had studied the maps, knew the terrain. Command assessed the route as acceptable risk. Enemy activity had been quiet for weeks. Still, he didn't like it. "Ramirez." Cross called softly into his radio. "How's our guest doing back there?" "She's..." The staff sergeant paused. "Sir, she keeps stopping to check things." "What things?" "Snow, rocks, wind direction. It's like she's reading the ground." Cross glanced back. 200 meters behind his position, the woman crouched near a boulder, running her bare hand along its surface. She stood, looked up at the ridgeline, then made another notation in her small book. "Keep an eye on her," Cross ordered. "Roger that, sir. Though I think she's keeping an eye on us." The patrol reached the midpoint. Abandoned village ahead, structures half collapsed under snow weight. No smoke, no movement. Ghost town, just as intelligence predicted. Cross raised his fist. The formation halted. Wind picked up, driving snow horizontal. Visibility dropped to 50 meters. The woman appeared beside him without sound. materializing from the whiteout like she'd been teleported. "Jesus," Cross muttered, startled. She ignored his reaction, pointing to the village with 2 fingers. "Don't enter yet." "Why not?" "Wind's wrong. Coming down valley should be Cross Valley this time of day. Something's disrupting the flow pattern." Cross studied her face, dead serious. "No paranoia, just data analysis. You're saying someone's up there?" "I'm saying the air is telling you something. Whether you listen is your choice, Captain." Before Cross could respond, she moved away, circling the formation's perimeter. She knelt every 20 meters, examining the snow. Not like a tracker looking for prints, more like an engineer assessing structural integrity. "Sir?" Corporal Hayes waited for orders, young face tight with cold and tension. Cross weighed options. Intel said clear. Weather was degrading. Every minute outside increased risk. But something in the woman's certainty gnawed at his training. She wasn't guessing. She was reading. "We go slow," Cross decided. "Ramirez, tight stack. Hayes, get your team on overwatch before we move. Nobody enters those structures until we've cleared sight lines." Orders filtered through the patrol. Marines shifted into tighter formation, weapons coming up. The temperature seemed to drop another 10 degrees. The woman returned to Cross's position, nodded slightly. First approval he'd seen from her. "Good instinct," she said quietly. "Yours or mine?" "Both." Then, the first shot cracked across the valley, and the snow turned red. Corporal Hayes went down before the sound registered. The bullet took him high chest, spinning him into the snow. His scream lasted 2 seconds before shock silenced it. Then the valley erupted. Muzzle flashes sparked from 3 positions. High ground left and right, overlapping fields of fire. The village structures ahead burst with automatic weapons. Marines scattered, diving behind whatever cover the terrain offered. Return fire came disorganized, panicked. Contact left, contact right, contact front. Voices overlapped on the radio. Cross pressed himself behind a boulder, mind racing through tactical responses. They were in the kill zone, perfect ambush placement. The enemy had funneled them into a predetermined box and waited. "Ramirez, get Hayes stabilized," Cross shouted. "First team, suppress left ridge. Second team, right ridge." "Sir, we can't get to Hayes," Ramirez's voice cracked. "He's in the open. They've got him zeroed." Cross risked a look. Hayes lay 15 meters away, still breathing but fading. Blood pooled black against white snow. Every time someone moved to help, rounds impacted within inches. "Third team, smoke, now." Corporal Miller pulled a grenade, yanked the pin, and threw. The canister landed short. Wind caught the expanding smoke, pushing it sideways. Useless. Another Marine screamed. Private Dawson clutched his leg, dragging himself behind inadequate cover. The medic, Petty Officer Chen, crawled toward him under heavy fire. "We're pinned," Ramirez stated the obvious. "Sir, we need to fall back." Cross evaluated. Fall back meant abandoning Hayes and possibly Dawson, but staying meant slow annihilation. The enemy held every advantage. "All teams, phased withdrawal," Cross ordered, "covering fire on my mark." "Captain." The woman's voice came from directly behind him, impossibly close. She'd moved through the kill zone without drawing a single round. Cross spun. "Get down." She remained standing, utterly calm, analyzing the incoming fire. "You can't withdraw. They have a blocking position behind you. 4 men, probably 500 meters back. You retreat, you die. How do you—" "The firing pattern. They're herding you forward, not pushing you back. Classic L-shaped ambush with a rear stop." She pointed to specific muzzle flashes. "Main element is there, and there. But the real threat is the sniper. Top of the right ridge, concealed position. He's the one who dropped Hayes." Cross stared at her. Bullets whipped overhead. Marines were dying. And she stood there, analyzing like a professor. "Can you see him?" Cross demanded. "The sniper? Not yet. He's good, very good, but he's shown me enough." "Enough for what?" She unslung her rifle case, kneeling behind the boulder. "Enough to kill him." The case opened. Inside lay a rifle Cross didn't recognize. Custom build, massive scope, suppressor already attached. She lifted it free and checked the chamber in one fluid motion. "Who are you?" Cross asked. She pressed her eye to the scope, adjusting for wind and distance with minute clicks. Her breathing slowed, became mechanical. When she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of legend. "Radio call sign Sierra Tango India, Charlie Kilo Yankee. Numerical designator 6. She paused. "They call me Sticky 6. Ramirez, listening on the channel, whispered one word: Jesus. The name hit Cross like physical impact. Sticky 6. He'd heard the stories. Every Marine had. The ghost sniper from operations nobody talked about officially. Confirmed kills in impossible conditions. Targets that shouldn't have been reachable. A legend that walked the line between tactical asset and myth. He'd assumed it was propaganda. Enhanced stories to boost morale. The woman beside him was very real. "Sir, we're getting shredded," Miller's voice cracked through the radio. "Third team is combat ineffective." Cross forced himself back to immediate crisis. "All teams, maintain suppressing fire. Chen, get to Dawson." But the tactical situation was collapsing. The enemy sniper fired again. Private Lopez jerked backward, helmet spinning away, dead before he hit the ground. 2 more Marines wounded in as many minutes. Return fire from Cross's teams grew sporadic, as ammunition concerns and casualties mounted. The village positions maintained steady automatic fire, keeping Marines pinned. The ridge positions picked targets methodically. It was execution, not combat. "Captain, I need to move," Sticky 6 said, not looking away from her scope. "This position's compromised." "Move where?" "We're surrounded." "Not surrounded, contained. Different problem." She lowered the rifle slightly, finally making eye contact. "You need to trust me. Keep them shooting at where they think you are. I'll remove the advantages they think they have." Cross wanted to argue. Training said maintain unit cohesion, never split forces under fire. But training also said never end up in this exact situation, and here they were. "What do you need from me?" he asked. "Noise. Lots of it. Make them think you're attempting a breakout to the left. They'll shift focus. I'll use the gap. That's suicide for anyone who actually tries it. Then don't actually try it. Just make them believe you are." She paused, something almost sympathetic crossing her features. "You're not in command anymore, Captain. You're in survival. Accept it." The words stung because they were true. Cross had lost control the moment the ambush sprung. His Marines were dying because he'd missed the signs, ignored the warnings. The woman had tried to tell him. She'd known. "Ramirez," Cross ordered, voice hard. "Prepare for demonstration maneuver. Left flank. Heavy fire, no actual movement. Make it loud." "Sir, that'll draw every gun we've got." "That's the point. Do it." "Roger." Sticky 6 was already moving, sliding backward through the snow with serpentine precision. She disappeared into the whiteout within seconds. No sound, no trace. Cross counted to 30, then gave the order. "All teams, execute." Marines opened up in a concentrated barrage toward the left ridge. Tracers cut through the snow. Grenades launched. Radio chatter increased, faking movement coordination. The enemy responded exactly as predicted, shifting fire to counter the perceived breakout attempt. In that moment, Cross understood what it meant to be bait. Rounds hammered his position. The boulders shielding him began to chip and crack under sustained impact. Corporal Miller cursed, pulling back as ricochets sparked dangerously close. Chen finally reached Dawson, working frantically to apply a tourniquet. Hayes had stopped moving. Snow covered his face. "How long do we hold?" Ramirez demanded, fear naked in his voice now. Cross had no answer. He'd gambled everything on a woman whose name he'd joked about 10 minutes ago. A legend who might be just a very good sniper, or might be what the stories claimed. All he could do was keep his Marines alive long enough to find out which. "Hold until she says otherwise," Cross replied, and hoped that wouldn't mean never. 90 seconds of sustained fire. Cross's Marines burned through magazines, mechanical and desperate. The enemy maintained pressure, confident in their superior position. Why wouldn't they be? They held every advantage. Then the radio crackled. Not the tactical channel, the emergency frequency. "All stations. This is Sierra Tango India, Charlie Kilo Yankee 6. I have operational control. Acknowledge." Cross pressed his transmit button, hands shaking from adrenaline and cold. Sticky 6, Raven Actual. Acknowledged. Raven Actual, cease demonstration fire in 5 seconds. Mark. All teams, check fire. In 5, 4, 3, 2, cease fire. Cross ordered. The valley fell into relative quiet. Only the enemy continued shooting, their rounds now seeking targets that had stopped revealing themselves. Wind howled through the rock formations. Snow continued its relentless fall. "Sir, what's happening?" Miller asked from his position. Cross didn't answer because he didn't know. 30 seconds passed. A minute. The enemy fire began to slacken, confusion evident in their pattern disruption. They'd prepared for a pinned enemy force, trying desperate breakouts. Not sudden radio silence. Then a single shot echoed across the valley. Different sound. Suppressed. Professional. The kind of shot that whispered instead of shouted. One of the village positions went silent. One down. Sticky 6's voice came calm and measured. Left ridge sniper is relocating. I have his pattern. Another shot. Another enemy position ceased fire. 2 down. Cross watched his Marines process what was happening. The men who'd served multiple deployments, who'd heard the stories in mess halls and transit barracks, their expressions shifted from fear to something else. Recognition. Belief. "She's real," Ramirez breathed into the radio, forgetting to release the transmit button. "The stories are real." A third shot. The main enemy sniper, the one who'd killed Hayes and Lopez, fired twice in rapid succession, missing, searching for a target he couldn't locate. Sticky 6 didn't return fire, silent for 45 seconds. Then, 3 down. "The good one knows I'm here now. He's hunting me." "Can you?" Cross started. "Don't speak unless I ask a question, Captain. You're giving him audio references." Cross snapped his mouth shut. Professional embarrassment warred with tactical relief. She was right. Every sound helped the enemy triangulate. The valley descended into terrible quiet. 2 apex predators, invisible to everyone else, playing a game measured in heartbeats and millimeters. Cross could only wait, watching his wounded Marines and hoping. 1 minute became 2, 3, 5. The enemy sniper fired. Single shot, then silence. Sticky 6's radio remained dead. Cross felt his stomach drop. Had she been hit? Was the enemy sniper that good? "Sticky 6, report status," Cross said, breaking his own imposed silence. "Nothing." "Sticky 6, do you copy?" 10 seconds of static. 20. Then her voice returned, slightly breathless. "Sierra Tango India, Charlie Kilo Yankee 6, 4 down. The good one doesn't get to be a problem anymore." Relief flooded through Cross so intensely his knees weakened. "Remaining enemy positions are withdrawing," she continued. "They know what my call sign means. Give them 60 seconds, then advance to secure your wounded. I'll maintain overwatch." Cross keyed his radio. "Roger." And, "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet, Captain. We still have to walk out of this valley." Private Hayes died while Sticky 6 had been hunting. Chen confirmed it when Cross reached his position. Dawson might make it if evacuation arrived soon. The other wounded were stable but needed immediate care. Cross organized his surviving Marines into defensive positions. 8 combat effective, 4 wounded, 2 dead, 60% casualties. The tactical failure crushed him, but he pushed it down. Time for that later. Ramirez, set security. Miller, prep casualties for transport. Chen, prioritize the wounded. Orders came automatically. Sticky 6 materialized from the snow line like smoke reversing direction. One moment, empty white void. The next, she stood 15 feet away. Snow covered her from head to boot, near perfect camouflage. "Village is clear," she reported. 3 enemy KIA there. Ridges have 2 more. The sniper makes 6 total. Estimate 4 withdrew to secondary positions east. They won't re-engage. "How can you be sure?" Cross asked. "Because they know who I am now." She said it without pride. Just fact. Word spreads fast in these valleys. Sticky 6 has a reputation. Staff Sergeant Ramirez approached, hesitant. He stood at attention despite the informal setting. "Ma'am, I served with Gunny Patterson. He told stories about you. Said you once took a target at 2,200 meters in a sandstorm." Sticky 6's expression didn't change. 2,100, Gunny tends to exaggerate. He said you saved his entire platoon. I did my job, same as today. Cross watched the exchange, understanding finally clicking into place. You've been doing this a long time. 15 years active. 3, before that, different capacity. She checked her rifle chamber, ejecting an unfired round and catching it mid-air, examined it, then reloaded. Command assigns me where regular assets can't operate. Mountains, mostly. Winter conditions, places where conventional tactics fail. Why didn't they tell me you were attached? Cross asked. I could have used you differently, prevented casualties. No, she interrupted, voice firm. You couldn't have. The ambush was set before we left the FOB. Intelligence failure, not tactical. Your Marines walked into an enemy plan days in the making. The only variable was whether I could mitigate the damage. Hayes and Lopez are still dead. Yes, and 12 others aren't. That's what mitigation looks like in my world, Captain. She met his eyes, no apology in her gaze. I don't save everyone, I save who I can. The honesty cut deeper than deflection would have. Cross nodded slowly, accepting the terrible mathematics of combat. The enemy sniper, Cross said. You called him the good one. How good? Sticky 6 considered the question. Very. Maybe the best I've faced in 2 years. He had patience, discipline, excellent fieldcraft. Made only one mistake. What mistake? He thought he was the best sniper in this valley. The faintest hint of satisfaction crossed her face. He wasn't. Ramirez actually smiled at that. Evacuation ETA, 15 minutes, Miller reported. Medevac birds are inbound. Command wants a full AAR. Tell them they'll get it, Cross said. Then to Sticky 6, you'll need to participate. She shook her head. My participation stays off record. Classified attachments don't make it into standard reports. You'll write that an unspecified support element provided precision fire. Nothing more. That's not right. That's the job. She walked away toward the perimeter, leaving Cross standing in the blood-stained snow. The helicopters arrived with rotor wash that scattered snow in blinding clouds. Medevac teams worked with efficient speed, loading casualties while door gunners maintained defensive positions. Cross coordinated the extraction. Sticky 6 remained at the perimeter, scope to eye, watching the ridgelines. Always watching. She doesn't stop, Corporal Miller observed. Even with air cover, she's still hunting. Would you? Cross asked. If you'd just killed 6 enemy combatants and knew 4 more were out there? Miller considered this. Young face, aging years. No, sir. I guess I wouldn't. The last wounded Marine loaded aboard. Chen climbed in behind, still working on Dawson's vitals. The bodies went in separate bags. Cross watched Hayes disappear into the helicopter's cargo bay. Captain Cross? The flight crew chief leaned out. We've got room for your entire team. Weather's degrading fast. Command wants everyone extracted. Cross looked at his remaining Marines. 8 men, exhausted and traumatized. They'd earned the ride out, but someone needed to confirm enemy disposition, secure sensitive items from the village. Take the wounded and 3 security, Cross decided. The rest of us complete the mission. Sir, you've been through hell. We complete the mission, Cross repeated. The crew chief nodded. Your call, sir. But we're not coming back until tomorrow morning at earliest. You're stuck here overnight. Understood. The helicopter lifted, engines screaming. Cross watched it disappear into gray sky, then turned to his team, 5 Marines, all volunteers, and Sticky 6, still at the perimeter. Standard site exploitation, Cross ordered. Ramirez, take Miller and clear the village buildings. You 2, establish a proper defensive perimeter. We're here until morning. Sir, what about her? Miller asked. Leave her alone. She's doing her job. The Marines dispersed. Cross approached Sticky 6's position carefully. We're staying overnight, he informed her. Completing the original mission. Good, she said simply. The village needs proper assessment. Enemy might have left indicators about their planning cycle. You don't have to stay. Captain, do you understand what happens if those 4 enemy combatants regroup with a larger force? More Marines die. Exactly. So I stay until I know the threat is neutralized. She checked her watch. I'll maintain overwatch through the night. Your Marines should rest in shifts. And you? I don't require much sleep in the field. Cross studied her profile, sharp against the white landscape. The stories about you. Are they true? All of them? Probably not. Stories grow in the telling. She paused. But some are true enough. The 2100-meter shot? True. Saving Gunny Patterson's platoon? True. Though I had help, it's never just one person. The nickname, Sticky Six. Where does it come from? For the first time, something like humor touched her expression. That's classified. Seriously? Seriously. Some mysteries stay mysterious, Captain. She returned to her scope. Cross left her to her vigil, understanding that some people existed in the spaces between official records, heroes without names. The snow continued falling, erasing footprints and blood alike. Night fell hard in the mountains. Temperature dropped 20 degrees. Cross's Marines huddled in the most intact village structure, rotating watch shifts. They'd found enemy supplies cached in one building: ammunition, rations, cold weather gear. Evidence of planning. Sticky Six remained outside, alone, watching. Cross brought her rations at midnight. She accepted them with a slight nod, eating mechanically while maintaining her observation sector. How do you do this? Cross asked. Stay alert for hours in these conditions? Practice. Discipline. Understanding that the moment you relax is when people die. She sipped water from her canteen. Your Marines are good, well-trained, but training doesn't prepare you for everything. Could have prepared me better for today. No, she disagreed. This wasn't about preparation. This was about adaptation. You adapted, made good decisions under pressure, trusted someone you had no reason to trust. I trusted you because Ramirez knew your name. You trusted me because you recognized when you were out of your depth, she interrupted. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. Too many officers get Marines killed because they can't admit they don't have all the answers. Cross absorbed this, watching his breath cloud. Command will want to know how you performed today. Tell them I did my job, nothing more. That's not enough. You saved my entire team. I saved 12 people, lost 2. Her voice hardened slightly. Don't make me into something I'm not. I'm a tool. Command points me at problems. I solve them when possible. Some problems can't be solved, only mitigated. Hayes and Lopez weren't problems. They were Marines. I know. She lowered her rifle, genuine regret visible. I know their names, their hometowns, their service records. I read them before we left. I know who I couldn't save. The admission hung between them. Why do you do this? Cross asked. 15 years of being erased from reports, no recognition. Why? Sticky Six was quiet for a long moment. Because someone has to. Because the enemy doesn't care about fair fights. They set ambushes, exploit weaknesses, kill good people doing difficult jobs. And sometimes there's someone like me who can balance the scales. She met his eyes. I don't need medals. I need the next Hayes to make it home. Cross understood then. She carried every loss, accumulated them like the snow accumulating around them. The weight of the saved never quite equaling the weight of the lost. My Marines will remember today. They'll remember Sticky Six. They'll remember a call sign and some stories. That's fine. She returned to her scope. It's enough. Outside, Sticky Six continued her watch, silent, tireless, keeping them all alive through the endless night. Dawn broke gray and cold. Extraction helicopters arrived precisely at 0800. Cross supervised the boarding sequence. His Marines moved with exhausted efficiency. Sticky Six appeared as the last Marine boarded, rifle case sealed. She'd policed every trace of her presence. You riding with us? Cross asked. Different bird, she replied, pointing to a second helicopter approaching. Unmarked. My transportation handles different protocols. Of course it did. Cross extended his hand. She shook it firmly, then released and stepped back. Captain, one last thing, she said. Write your after-action report honestly. Don't minimize the ambush or the casualties. Command needs to understand the intelligence failure. And you? How do I explain the tactical turnaround? Unspecified support element. Let them read between the lines. Her helicopter touched down 50 meters away, side door already open. Will I see you again? Cross asked. Unlikely. I go where I'm assigned. She paused. But your Marines performed well under terrible circumstances. Tell them that. She walked toward her helicopter without looking back. Cross watched her board, the aircraft lifting immediately. It banked east, disappearing into cloud cover within seconds. Ramirez approached. She's gone. Yeah. Think we'll ever know the full story? Cross thought about mysteries and legends. No. And maybe that's how it should be. Back at FOB Raven, Cross spent 4 hours drafting the after-action report. He detailed the intelligence failure, the ambush execution, the casualties. When describing the tactical response, he wrote, "Unspecified support element attached to patrol provided precision fire, neutralizing enemy positions and enabling casualty evacuation. Element's contribution was decisive in preventing total unit loss." 23 words to describe the difference between 12 survivors and complete annihilation. Hayes and Lopez would be honored, their families notified, their sacrifice recognized. The sniper who'd saved everyone else would remain a footnote. 3 days later, Cross received orders transferring him to staff duty at division headquarters. Standard rotation. But Cross suspected someone had reviewed his report and decided the captain who'd survived Sticky Six's intervention might be useful in planning. On his last day at FOB Raven, Corporal Miller approached with an envelope. "Sir, the men wanted you to have this." Inside was a single photograph, taken the morning of the patrol, snow falling, Marines assembled, and at the edge of the formation, barely visible, a woman watching the ridgeline. Cross kept the photograph in his desk for the rest of his career, a reminder of the day legends walked among them. 6 months passed. Cross adapted to his new role at division headquarters, analyzing patrol reports and intelligence assessments. He pushed for better terrain analysis, more conservative movement protocols in ambush-prone valleys, small changes, saving lives through paperwork instead of combat. The name Sticky Six never appeared in any official document that crossed his desk. But sometimes, reading between the lines of after-action reports from mountain units, he'd notice familiar patterns. Sudden tactical reversals, impossible precision fire, enemy snipers neutralized in conditions that should have prevented effective engagement. She was still out there, still doing the work. One evening, Gunny Patterson, now retired, stopped by his office. "Heard you met her," Patterson said without preamble. "Who?" Cross asked, though he knew. "Don't play dumb. Sticky Six. Ramirez told me the story." Cross thought about the day in the snow, the woman who'd saved them all. "The stories you told Ramirez, are they true?" "Every word. And probably a dozen more I don't know about." Patterson leaned forward, serious now. "You know what the real story is? Not the shots or the kills. It's that she keeps doing it. Year after year. No recognition, no career advancement, nothing but the work." After Patterson left, Cross pulled up the classified database. He searched for Sticky Six, knowing he probably wouldn't find anything. He was right. The name returned 0 results. But digging deeper, he found fragments. Operations reports with redacted sections. Casualty lists that should have been longer based on the tactical situation. Commendations for units that mentioned attached specialist without details. Ghost trails of a ghost operator. Cross closed the files, understanding finally that some heroes weren't meant to be known. They operated in the margins. Their impact measured not in medals, but in the people who lived to see another day. 2 years later, Cross made lieutenant colonel and took command of a mountain infantry battalion. On his first day, reviewing personnel assignments, he noticed a name on the specialist attachment list. Observer. Classification: Sierra Tango India, Charlie Kilo Yankee 6. Deployment duration: classified. He smiled, remembering snow and blood and impossible shots. In the mountains far to the north, where snow fell eternal, a woman settled into a familiar position, rifle assembled, scope adjusted, wind calculated. Another patrol approaching another valley. She pressed her eye to the scope, breath steady, and did what she'd always done. Watched. Waited. Protected. The legend walked on, silent and unseen, saving those who would never know her name.